Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Those who were here yesterday, welcome back. And those joining us today, a very warm welcome. I am Nur Fatima Warsia, the Group Editorial Director of BW Business World. Today is the second day of the BW Marketing White Book Month. And with me as your co host today is Siddharth Shankar. Sid is assistant editor at BW Business World and is widely known for his show Tech Talks and Hot Wires and is responsible for covering the technology and auto sectors for us. Hi, Sid.
Hi, Noor. Thank you for that great introduction. And I can't almost believe that Marketing White Book Month has started, and we had a bumper day one yesterday. We were not only live on BW website, main website, and all the social media channels, but at the same time, we were live on our partner publication Exchange for Media as well. So this continues today. And I'm really excited about the leaders and marketers who are joining us today for the real estate sector.
That is right, Sid. Today is the Real Estate Day. We have an overall 15 roundtable schedule, which goes all the way till the end of November. We are looking at some of the most important sectors that are directly impacting the advertising and marketing landscape in India. So there is BFSI coming up, there is auto coming up. You're going to be involved in that. There's the mobile sector coming up, technology coming up. On screen right now, you can see our day one. Now, yesterday we really had a mind blowing discussion. Some very formidable advertisers challenged on whether COVID really made a ground impact in bringing incremental digital audience that benefits marketers. They also believe that the ad spend in India will sustain and hold. I got personally really happy when one of the speakers spoke about print still trying to maintain its own. It came as a pleasant surprise. However, there was immediately a word of caution that was thrown in that not only in comparison to the 2019 base would we not see growth, but probably because of the standstill in 2020, there may be some growth that comes in. So it was a diverse and very interesting viewpoint between our homepage, Exchange for Media, the business world social channels, and of course the people on Vertex. We have already clocked over 50,000 views, which is massive, not only for this duration, but also for a roundtable. So I have to thank every audience member that is there. I must also thank everybody who emailed us yesterday, who emailed me as well. Thank you. That was quite an encouraging boost from some of you. So, Sid, now as we are moving forward, we are discussing, we were discussing earlier today that it really has not been easy for the real estate players.
Absolutely, Noor. Totally. This sector, the real estate sector, has been under some stress, and for the past couple of years. And the lockdown, the COVID-induced lockdown, has brought everything to a standstill. Project completion issues, supply chain issues, and even the buyers are a little apprehensive about investing. So we have to take into consideration the reverse migration, work from home. All these new aspects are going to affect the corporate side of real estate. What do you
Yes,
think?
that's true. I agree with you. I agree with you. You're right. People are not really investing right now. And reverse migration, so there's still the jury's for some reason going all out on that. But it is true that a lot of corporates have decided the work from home culture, and that will definitely have an impact on real estate on the official side, because we have seen very large companies saying that they will have almost 50 to 60% of their staff work from home, and hence it will have an impact on corporate. So that is something that we need to watch out for. All of our all of our panelists today and our all the industry leaders who will be here today will be talking to us a little bit more about what they see. Before I even start inviting them on stage, Sid, I need to ask you this question. Would you be investing, or do you know anybody who's investing in real estate right now, whether it is like, let's start at a personal level. Do you think that's happening?
My parents are actually discussing this opportunity because the prices are low, but then for us Indians, it's a big ticket expense, buying a car, buying a property. So it is a little slow right now. And I had recently gone to Cyber Hub in Gurgaon. That's a place full of offices. And the whole place was really empty and really saddening, actually. So this sector is, in fact, little struggling.
It is struggling. That is true. That is true. In the marketing white book, we are going to deep dive not only in the real estate, the corporate side of it, but we're also going to look at what is happening on the personal side. I already know that our keynote for the day is here with us. I have to say that our keynote once again, is somebody who needs absolutely no introduction. He's among one of the most respected names in the Indian and global real estate industry. He has a pulse of the business. He has foresight and vision, and he brings credibility like none other. It is time for me to invite Mr. Niranjan Hiranandani, the managing director of Hiranandani Group and the national president for Naritco and Asochan, to be here with us on screen. Mr. Nandani, hi sir, hi Mr. Nandani. Thank you so much for taking the time out to joining us.
My pleasure to be with Business World and pleasure to be with you, Noor and Siddharth. Thank you very much for
Thank you, sir.
inviting.
We are leaving the screen to you, sir, and we will come back a little while later, probably with some questions from the audience by then. Over to you, sir.
So 1 minute before you go away, tell me what you want to hear.
Oh, well, we are hoping we are hoping that we can understand whether it is reinvention time. Not only from real estate was undergoing pressure even before we were faced with the COVID pandemic syndrome. We had a lot of stress in the sector, and it would appear that the sector really catapulted it to another level because of the standstillness of work, because the consumer sentiment is not very optimistic right now. Real estate is not probably one of the things that they would be talking about, and also the work from home syndromes. We want to understand, is it true that because of the syndrome the corporate side of real estate will get affected, and whether this reverse migration syndrome opens up new opportunities? So is this reinvention time for the sector? Is that fair enough? All right,
Great.
then I leave it to you, sir.
Yes. Uh, a very good afternoon to each and every one of you. Thank you very much, Business World, for giving me this opportunity for sharing my thoughts and feelings about what the situation is today. Real estate is an important activity in any country of the world. All countries of the world which have gone through recessions, all the countries which have gone through recessions have always been benefited by work which is taking place in real estate or in the case of infrastructure. These are two items which have helped any and every country to get out of recession. Number two, the double-digit growth that we always talked about in order to reach the $5 trillion economy. No country in the world has ever reached double digit without actually focusing on real estate and infrastructure. So if you pick up any country which went double digit, it's always been housing, it has always been infrastructure in terms of roads, highways, and other things together, put together, and actually done the double digit growth. Number three, the second largest employer in the country is real estate and infrastructure, construction side. So what does it mean? It means that while 7% of GDP comes from real estate, 15% of employment in India comes from construction and real estate. And hence, a large number of people are affected. The next important point to consider is the fact that real estate affects almost 269 industries. So what does it mean? That every activity in real estate and construction actually hits 269 industries. So we have steel, cement, metal, plumbing, electricals, marble, tiles, fittings, elevators, pumps, firefighting equipment, you name it, and it's there. So all these factors have a multiplier effect. So you're absolutely right. In the last couple of years, ever since demonetization, real estate has been going through very troubled times. It had a downfall. This was compounded when we had RERA, though that was good for the consumer, but the real estate industry got a further shock. Then it came up where you had GST, which made changes in the rules and brought in taxes, which were there at 12%. Then with input tax credit, brought down now to 5%. And of course, 1% for affordable housing. And then we had the ILFS crisis, which brought about a monetary problem, which compounded the whole situation. So what you said is absolutely correct. We have gone through lots of troubled times in the last couple of years, and the real estate industry actually started to correct the situation in about January of 2020, when we thought it would be a full bloom year. But March, and we had the COVID-19 situation, and all the members of the migrant labor who were there at the site just disappeared. We had no workers in the situation. The demand vanished. Financial availability was not there. Loss of confidence, and the real estate industry further went down, where no construction, no sales, finance non-availability, and companies defaulting left, right, and center, difficulty to pay salaries, and so on and so forth. So this has been the situation of real estate coming in the last couple of years, and really been a serious adventure. However, we thought that COVID situation would go away because we had a very strong lockdown. That really didn't happen in the manner in which we thought. And even today, the COVID continues, the situation continues. However, real estate has sprung back. It has sprung back because the construction workers have come back. We have had a change as far as the banking system is concerned. Interest rates are the lowest ever. 6.9% interest is the lowest interest in the last 15 years. And again, there is a 3% interest subsidy for affordable housing under the PMAY program. This compounded with a reduction in stamp duty rates by Maharashtra government, bringing it from 5% to 2%, which is a reduction of 3%. Zero GST in the case of ready apartments, plus some rationalization in terms of prices. All this has brought back demand for products of the real estate industry. Yes, the figures look very, very good in the last 30 to 45 days. However, it's not across the board. And it's not across every single company, many of which had gone into NPA situation and the projects were stopped. But they were being taken care partially by the Swami Fund, which is of 25,000 crores, and of the last mile funding, which has become important. So I think all this has happened while a positive story now looks the way. Is it sustainable? My answer is yes. I think on the residential side, the demand is definitely come back. It is going up. Of course, it means prices cannot be exorbitant, but certainly there seems to be a flurry of demand, and also the fact that people are taking decision to buy the house. What does it mean to have been stuck in the house for last 7 months? Many of them are requiring to do work from home. The children having to study from home, online classes taking place both from children in schools, which require further help by the parents, and those from college also required to study from home, even having examinations done on online basis. All this is meant that the demand for housing, quality housing, housing which has necessary facilities, is definitely a positive yes, yes, while those places which do not have facilities or adequate spaces for a work to home situation are not being looked upon as favorably. So bigger size homes is definitely the order of the day. So what happens on the commercial side? The commercial side has definitely seen another problem, because in the last couple of years, while residential was struggling, commercial was doing extremely well. And lots of demand in terms of investments by foreign direct investments, by larger investments, pension funds, and other portfolios were actually aggressively going into commercial portfolios. Of course, they were only for the AA category commercial premises, but the demand overall was definitely seen to be increasing. The IT side also was positive. So cities which had IT and financial sides to be done had a bigger boost than the other case. So we have seen a very positive element in commercial, which has taken a setback. So over this period of time, people are worried, still worried. Is it all going to come back from home to commercial? My gut feel is that another by March of 2021, either the vaccine will come in or there will be a herd immunity which will happen. So come April, the next financial year, commercial properties will definitely spring back into it, and there will be a good demand for commercial real estate. But some percentage people will continue to work from home. But overall, as the GDP starts springing back from a negative of 10% to a positive of 5% is what I'm expecting it to happen in the next year. I think we will see a positive benefit. So, what is it that has happened in this pandemic times in terms of this? A lot of learning, a lot of understanding of the type the consumers now demand of the type of houses that they need. Better quality houses, better facilities, ability to resource whatever they have in terms of it, ability to have conveniences within the buildings, within the complexes that they reside, shopping that should be available, able to shop from home, online deliveries of goods and other activities, and necessary facilities for people to walk around, exercise it within the compounds and within the area of their complexes. All this has meant a paradigm change that has taken place. Buying of properties, again, people went for rental. They are again looking back more for ownership, because many of the people having rental couldn't bring their parents, couldn't ask their children to come back. Objection by landlords, objection by cooperative societies and other people from increasing the persons, because it's not an ownership house. So these factors have brought about a different thought process of people wanting to upgrade their houses in order to meet the work from home requirement, or the lock-in which has taken place for those who are affordable, who can afford to upgrade the kind of housing that has taken place. So all these paradigms have happened. The developers themselves have had to make a commitment to complete their projects and deliver it, in order that the buyers should have confidence in them. And those developers which actually delivered the projects have seen demand coming back to them in a very serious manner in the last 30 to 60 days. Is it sustainable? My answer is yes. I do believe that after these 2 or 3 years of negativism and a downslide in market, the demand for homes and houses has come back. May not be in the manner in which it was earlier, where people would get all the booking at the start of the project, but we will now get booking start of the project as well as during the project, and also when the buildings are completed. So a much more larger amount of cash flow requirement by developers. So in the earlier days, because of this escrowing of the monies and others, if the requirements of cash flow for a project was say 50 crores, today it would be close to 150 crores, because of the escrow mechanism or the lack of sales which take place subsequent to the project time rather than early in the day. So from all points of view, yes, there has been a paradigm change in the real estate, some of it even for the better because of the type that we are looking at. But change is manifested in the minds of the consumer for wanting better products. Commercial will take a little time. Retail has had the worst setback in terms of the things, especially in terms of hospitality, restaurants, hotels, aviation, and other sectors have seen a worse situation than all. They certainly need an uplift in the next couple of months in order them to be able to survive the situation and bring back employment in that sector, which is very critical. So all in all, my gut feel is that the economy will be back in normal in the fiscal year 21-22. We would still see a negativism hopefully it will not be -10, but should be close to -4 or 5 by the end of the year, because I do believe that the pickup which has taken place in the economy is sustainable and will continue to do. And if the vaccine comes, of course, the next quarter will be fantastic and we should not have to worry about it at all. So I'm really open to question answers. And this is my initial view in terms of what I feel is the situation in the real estate market, very positive in the long run.
I am sorry, we had to wait for our backstage to get us back in, and I think our connections were giving a little bit of a problem. But thank you so much, sir. I kept on taking notes when you were speaking. There was so much that was packed inside that. You mentioned that the positive light is sustainable. We do have some audience questions that are going in. In fact, one of the people picked up one of your earlier points itself, saying that real estate has many industries that it is that are dependent on it, the 269 allied industries that you spoke of. And the question that I can see from here right now is that the is it a direct proportionate? So will these industries are they will be continue to be directly dependent, and hence the picture that you have drawn that by 2021 it should get better. It means a larger mass, a larger sector is getting into a more positive outlook for 2021.
Yes, the answer is yes, because there is a direct linkage to construction to all these industries. However, not directly proportional. Because, for example, let's take the paint industry. You use paint for new buildings, but you also use paint for older buildings. If you are taking steel, steel is used for buildings, but it's also used for roads and bridges and other sectors of the economy also. If you look at various materials that go into homes and houses, so let's look at tiles, roofing tiles, and other things which are there. They're used for new homes, but they're used for repair of old homes and other things which are there. So redevelopment, rebuilding, repairs, renovations, and paints and other things. So while it is not directly proportionate, but the answer is it is definitely linked. So a large facet of it would be covered by the real estate industry, and those industries which were connected with it will not be able to boom without real estate coming back. But whether they will be able to survive or not, my view is survival is one thing and doing well is another thing. So it is my belief that those industries have to do well, will have to have real estate coming back. So, for example, let's take my own companies. We have almost 4,500 workmen on the ground. When the pandemic took place, we were left with less than 1,200 workers, and those also were scared to come back to work. So the situation was extremely big. Now we have, in the last 60 days or 75 days, every day we have 30, 40, 50 workers coming back. Unfortunately, they are not necessarily the same workers. So we have people who are coming. So we are not getting equally skilled workers, but we have the workmen coming back to work. So all this is going to require rectification and putting back into the system, whether it is our factory or the connected industry, which you said, which I said is 269 or so.
Got it. I got it. So, Sid, do you want to figure out the next question from our
Yes.
audiences?
Yeah, Mr. Hiranandani, there's another question from Mr. Gautam Banerjee from Greater Noida. Now, his question is about the airport coming up in Greater Noida. Will that boost the reality sector there? Because all big projects, infrastructure projects, actually boost the reality sector around that. What are your thoughts on this, sir?
Noida is having a very lucky position now. For the Sincil, it's not only about the airport. The UP government has been working in a very proactive manner in order to bring industry, and including data centers and others. My own company, Yota, is setting up a large data center park. The next one in Greater Noida, in Noida. So that's also a possibility. Plus, if you see the announcement yesterday or day before in the news and papers, there have been at least 7 different new industries which are coming up in Noida and other areas of UP. So that also is going to be a positive demand position. So while the airport will become critical over a period of time, it is my belief that the multiple industries that are being now supported by the government and the speed at which they are taking it up is very proactive. And that is really going to help Noida and UP in general and Noida in particular. So yes, the development is definitely proactive, and I consider that region a good area to be in the next couple of years.
Great, sir.
I'm going to
Great.
go on the next question. This is from Aarti Chopra in Mumbai. Now, Aarti over here is she's clearly a marketer. She's asking us whether she's asking your advice on whether you advise real estate developers right now to focus more on brand building, because she's pointed out that real estate has more been a project driven marketing that we usually see in areas, but in times of boosting consumer confidence, do you expect or do you advise fellow marketers and developers to now invest in brand building and do corporate branding than just project branding?
What has worked in the world? Both branding and also project branding. So if you take companies, let's take a company like Godrej. Godrej has built a brand, a strong brand, and now into real estate. So what do? They also project the brand Godrej, and they also uh, project the projects that come up on the whole thing. So it's not one or the other, it's one and the other. So you have to understand it, and you have to actually come to an understanding whether how much proportion of your total spend will you put on brand building and how much of it will you do for project driven ideas. So it's a judgment call that we all have to make. But at the end of the day, you have to remember that brand is not about brand building, it's about trust. So the word is not brand building. People misunderstand the word brand building. Brand building is nothing else except building trust. So if you go to Tata's, you know it's about trust. If you go to Hiranandani, it's about trust. It's not about brand. People misunderstand a brand uh, with the product. Product is about the product, and the brand is about trust. So when you have trust in somebody, it doesn't matter which field of activity, whether it's real estate or it is any other product that you buy, it's about your faith in that product. So when you have faith in a product, which is what the corporate entities do, is about building trust, which is a very, very thing. And I feel sorry for the people who are just brand builders, because that is projecting something which they are not. What you need to do is build trust and then project the trust that you have built. That is important rather than spending money on brand building, which is about projecting something you may not be. So if you build your trust with the people and then project that trust, that is extremely positive. Project profiling is a cup of tea, which I guess every marketeer knows and
Yeah.
understands. And our friend, I'm sure, will understand it better than me.
Sid,
Right.
next
So,
question.
yeah. So we have one last question from Mr. Manish Dholkeria. He is a businessman from Delhi, and he wants to know: is this the right time to invest in real estate? And if yes, what kind of property should he invest in?
Real estate is a long term business. And you have to always remember, if you are a short term player, go into the stock market. If you're a long term player and you want to do it, this thing, then you must be in the real estate market to great extent. So over a period of time, see, just now the inflation is already coming back. And real estate is a good supporter which saves you from the inflation which has taken place. Last couple of years, the inflation was not there. Hence, there was no increase in prices of real estate and land and others. But if you look at a 20-year profiling of land and real estate, you'll realize that the prices have zoomed beyond imagination. what was pricing 20 years ago, and today it's a different cup of tea. So it is my gut feel and belief that in the next 10 years to 15 years, real estate definitely, for those who can afford it, actually be a part of the portfolio. Second, that it is extremely important for every sensible Indian to buy a house because it's social security. It is important that in your old age you must have your house. That's your only social security which doesn't go away from you. All the rest can be marginalized because your money in the bank can also get eaten up by inflation, but your house remains to be your house and shelter and home. So, homes and houses should never be compromised. You must set aside your money to buy a house at some point of time or the other, even if that's not the place you're staying in. An investment into house and home in India is never going to be lost. And this is so in all parts of the world. So it's highly recommended that you must invest into a house. Each and every Indian must do so over a period of time. Roti, kapda, makan. रोटी आप बाहर से खरीद सकते हैं, कपड़ा भी ले सकते हैं, लेकिन मकान जिंदगी में एक या दो बार ही खरीदते हैं. So you must buy your house. The earlier you buy it and start paying your EMIs, the earlier it will get over. And this roof will be protection to you, both for your own shelter as well as protection against inflation.
I seem to have picked up yet another weird question. I'm getting all the weird questions of the day. This is again from Mumbai, amazingly. Now, this gentleman wants to know whether has COVID actually helped developers because the projects were delayed anyway, and did it actually give them a more justified reason for the delay?
COVID has not helped anybody, certainly not India. With a plus 5% GDP growth going into a minus 10% GDP growth, with unemployment of so many people being there, the poor and helpless having to walk 1,000 kilometers on the way, dying on the way, not having food and shelter, COVID has not helped anybody. Maybe a few big multinational companies providing essential ingredients may have benefited in this period, but I would say that is only 1 to 3% of the total economy which has benefited. Luckily, our agriculture sector has been saved, and the country is saved because the price of petroleum and oil has been less, and overall our foreign exchange position has been good. Those are the only saving factors in the economy. In every other sector, there has been pain, some places less pain, but some places more pain. So I don't think and agree with my friend that there is actually any benefit by any developer whatsoever. Even if they have been able to get some time for delay, you lose goodwill of the people that you have dealing with. So at the end of the day, do you benefit as a developer doing it and using it? The answer is no. But there have been genuine problems in the real estate field over a period of last couple of years, as I mentioned today.
Yes.
So we have to look after it. And there is two stories. One, a genuine developer who has a genuine interest is in difficulty. And the other, the fly-by-nights and the mischievous and the rascals. We need to differentiate between the two. Of genuine people who are in difficulty, which need support, which we want to do and we must give and be empathetic to them like any other person or business, or the persons who are fly-by-night who should be shot or hanged or put behind bars very quickly. So I don't think we can paint all the developers black or white. We have gray in between too, but most of them who have gone through difficulties need to be empathized with because they are really struggling in terms of finances and other situation, lack of demand, escrowing of amounts in the rarer market. So you have to be a little empathetic to some of them who are genuinely having problems in the whole situation. But you're right, we have some black sheep, and I would paint them black and shoot them.
Thank you so much again, Mr. Hiranandani, for all of your time, for the lovely insights. Give me one last question for me, one last answer for me, which is this year we will look back at 2020 as a year of shake up? Like, we already know it will be a year of certain significance, but will it be the year that, what you mentioned, the differentiation between the people genuinely in it and the fly by night? Is this the year we will actually see that?
This will be a year of change. Whether it will be a change for the better, it depends on the people to take it that way. If you have a problem and a challenge, and if you use it in a proactive manner, it can be a positive effect to change. But not everybody is like that. Not everybody takes change in a proactive manner. And that's the sad story. So if you can be proactive in terms of what the situation is and change for the better, that would be a positive story that we should like to carry out. And it is happening. Many people are looking at it proactively. People are, for example, going into the digital world, doing marketing, doing purchasing through the digital world, doing auction purchases in terms of materials, getting efficiencies into their companies, putting out dead wood, picking up efficient methods of construction, design, and other things. All these could be a positive story. So, if you choose, it's your choice. You have to choose to use the time better in order to make a change for the better. If you can do it, wah, this is a great year for you. If you don't and sit back and say, baap re baap, ye ho gaya, and really are not proactive enough for doing what change is required or adaptation to change in the situation, then you will suffer. But you will not be better. The world will bypass you, and those who are smarter and cleverer than you will make the change management happen, and they are the ones who will lead tomorrow. So, whether the old guys will lead tomorrow and will still be better change, look at what was done by Reliance. Reliance 35 years ago was a textile company, only Vimal. Today, how much percentage is textile out of their total inventory? 0.01%. While they've
Right.
moved into various lines, change every time the situation merits. Can we also change for the better every time the situation merits? Then COVID will be a great year of learning.
Thank you so much again, sir. You have answered all of our questions, our audience's questions, and you gave us really, really awesome answers. I will thank you once again for joining us, and we will stay connected with you between emails, etc., for the post coverage. See you again, sir. All right, Sid, that was really interesting, wasn't it?
Yes, yes, it was very insightful and interesting to see the situation with the sector. So now let's.
We were right about thinking that as far as we are getting Mr. Hiranandani, A, he has the pulse of the business. Second, he always says something that will leave you with more thoughts that's going on.
Absolutely. And the clarity for, I mean, the kind of questions that we were getting, the clarity for the buyers, for the viewers, for the audience, where to invest, is this the right time to invest? And the overall sector, how it is doing, the roadmap, very insightful conversation. So, Noor,
All right.
let's
Yes.
invite our next guest.
You'll have to
Now,
hold on to that, Sid. You'll have to still hold on for that. So, Mr. Magazine is running late. Yay, virtual world. Also, stuff happens. We are waiting for him to join. Of course, we are running a really tight ship and a really tight schedule. So, while he is running late, we will have to. He is running late right now, people. So, we will just hang on for a while. And let's dissect in the meanwhile what is happening with what we understood from Mr. Hiranandani. Now, first of all, I would like to request my awesome backstage team, Kunal and Rakesh, just give us a ping as soon as Mr. Magazine is with us backstage, so that Sid I know and I know that we are on. And I did not do this when we started. So this is God's way of saying it, that do it now, which is thanking our partners. I actually didn't thank our partners today. So our partner in association is who we are doing the real estate chapter with is Realty Plus from the Exchange for Media Group, born in 2004 when I was also with that group. So I have actually seen it come by. Realty Plus has to be one of the most respected business real estate business magazines brands in the fraternity around right now. From the magazine, from its products, from everything, I've only seen that brand grow now for like what, 16 years. And Tripti Kedia, my long-term colleague, now good friend, and Sapna Srivastava, who is handling the editorial of it, were critical and instrumental towards seeing what you're seeing today. So thank you, girls, awesomely, thank you. Of course, I have to keep thanking our virtual partners, Almin Vertex, because what you see is this final product. What they see is everything that was not happening. So I can already see all of them going, "Oh, Mr. Magazine is not here. Oh, Mr. Magazine is not here." Uh, we are running. We may end up running a little bit late depending on when he joins. However, backstage people, do let me know if the next session speakers are already here. Because their time is also done. If the next session speakers are already here, I would recommend that we start with the next session, and then we can get Mr. Magazine after the address with the CMOs, or after the discussion with the CMOs is over. So I'm keeping my eye out on the chats. Anybody who has a heads up, let me know. In the meanwhile, sit back to you and me. What did
Yes.
Mr. Hiranandani say to us today? He said that we are looking at a good year ahead. He said that it's going to be sustainable. He said that while it is not across sectors and while it is not across companies, but to actually understand that, and he expects a 5% growth in GDP now, which is from a negative 10% right now. This 5% growth in GDP will impact also the advertising and marketing sector. So I think every time he spoke, once again, like yesterday, I had the sentiment that we are headed for not a very bad future. Did you have a positive
Absolutely.
feel of him too?
Absolutely, absolutely. All the news and stuff that is going around about negative GDP, this was a
Yeah.
very positive conversation. And the thing that he said about Noida and Greater Noida, where the government is very proactive and they are doing a lot of things. A film city is coming up, the airport is coming up, makes that place the right place to invest. And investment apart, even if people want to stay there and actually are the direct buyers, I think this makes for the right time to go there and look at the kind of properties available.
I also love the way he differentiated between brand building and building trust. As marketers or as reporters of the marketing industry, have we not heard this word like forever, especially with the advent
Exactly.
of digital? We have spoken about now it's consumer monologue, there is consumer dialogue from monologue, and it is very important that the ship is going and trust becomes critical in this. However, when the CMO panel comes, I also want to ask them about the experience because that's also really important. Now, in the contactless world, how did that affect them? I always feel that real estate CMOs do not have it easy. They work with like a framework and they have to play ball in that. And we have such awesome names today. So
Yes.
that's going to be interesting. Of course, Mr. Magazine is still not here. I should apologize to our audience, but I can see some of the CMOs are in already.
I think we
I
should
suggest we.
start with the CMOs.
Yes, I agree. I agree. So, dear audience, see, this is what happens in life. You have to understand where we are.
This is the new normal.
This is the new normal, the new abnormal. I really want the CMO panel to begin. Kunal and Rakesh, are we ready? And can you hear me? Can you hear me? Let's begin the CMO
Yes.
session. I will actually wait for all of our CMOs to come on screen before I start introducing them. Yes, let's get them on screen. Yes, I have done it. Guys, everybody, please clap for me. We have started. I can see that our CMOs are coming in now. I believe I should apologize already because of the confusion, but they are all here. They are all here. Viral sir is here. I can't see him. He is here. Yes. Sid, I think we are bidding you goodbye right now.
Right, right. All right.
All right. I must apologize for the confusion, gentlemen, but I must right now officially begin my CMO panel for today. We have been speaking about the real estate sector quite a bit with Mr. Hiranandani some time ago. And right now we have something of a super CMOs panel. So now to invite them or to, to announce them, We have Mr. Alok Agarwal, the Chief Marketing Officer of Orient Bell. We have Mr. Amit Parasuramka, the Senior Vice President and Chief Sales and Marketing Officer of Tata Realty and Infrastructure and Tata Housing Development. We have Mr. Lalit Makhijani, the Chief Marketing Officer of Godrej Properties. We have Mr. Mohit Mishra, the Chief Marketing Officer for the office business at DLF. We have Mr. Siddharth Sood, the Head of Marketing and Corporate Communication at Gores Group. And of course, we have Mr. Viral Oza, the Chief Marketing Officer of Mahindra Life Spaces. Hello, gentlemen. We almost did make it in time. So we ran into a little bit of a problem with the earlier session, but then it looks like we have pretty much in order now. I believe I should start with my questions. The first question, it is I've been asking this question to a lot of marketers, but I just want to understand that the stimulus package that had come from COVID seems to have given a little bit of a fillip or a little bit of a cushioning and a little bit of relief. Mr. Hiranandani was telling us that things are not so bad, it's picking up a little bit. But I want to get a sense from all of you the last 7 months, how has it been? And the first question will be a little bit of death by panel. I'm going to apologize in advance. But then, sir, can we start with you on this one? I'll go in reverse order on this one. Your thoughts, the last 7 months, how has it been?
Uh, Hi Noor, hi everyone. I think the last 7 months has, the one silver lining, if there is one, is the fact that everybody has been on the same plane, on the same page, so to speak, right? Because everybody has gone through the same tensions, the same anxieties, the same challenges where business is concerned. But it's also been a period of introspection, a period of learning, a period of realizing that there is a new and a different way of doing things. And I think that's really where our category has benefited the most. When I say the most, I mean from the perspective of the one transition that we as a business were I'd say lagging behind most consumer businesses, and which is the transformation into the digital space. The last 7 months have kind of forced us, irrespective of where different brands were, different organizations were on the entire transition curve. The last 7 months have forced us all to reevaluate how we do things and actually learn to live in the virtual world far, far more than we were comfortable doing. But I think having done that, at least I, for one, feel that that's a big learning, a big positive learning, and we are now getting at par with where consumers were in this space. I mean, they were very comfortable being out there, and now as a business, we are also out there, and that's one big thing. Otherwise, I think things are turning around. It's time to kind of look at the positive side, look at the future, and see how we can recover things and bring them back even better, even stronger.
I like that, you already use the word recovery yourself too. I'm going to get Mr. Makhijani in the conversation right now. It is directly affected with the fact that just in the previous session, we had an audience question on whether from a marketer, real estate marketer viewpoint, is it time for brand building or project driven? And her question more was on the lines of, is it time to invest in brand building? And Mr. Hiranandani was saying, I feel bad if you think about brand building, if you think about trust. And he quoted the example of Godrej in that, on how the brand has been built. But I want to get a sense from you that how was your own plan changing over the period of, say, last 3 to 4 months when we were a little bit going back in the market to what you were seeing immediately before and to what you had planned? So how has your plan changed as we move into this recovery mode?
First of all, thanks Noor for getting me here, and a big hello to all the fellow participants here. Good to see all of you. So Noor, it's a good question, and most certainly there has been, as Viral was saying, there has been a lot of self introspection, and we've been started looking internally. So specifically on the brand building, we actually were working on brand building. We were actually exploring, understanding what we stand for, what actually our purpose as a brand is. And this COVID hit, and it became all the more important for us then to focus. While that exercise was getting conducted, but we went all guns in and started focusing more on. I think what has happened in last 7-8 months is that. There has been a lot of self introspection and re-looking at the processes. Because unlike any industry,
Mm.
the closest industry which I believe to real estate is an automobile industry where it's an experiential buying, finance based, family decision. So I think that is the closest industry. Even an automobile comes to at a doorstep. You have to take a you have to take a demo or experience it. But
Mm.
real estate is something where customers have to go and experience the product by visiting the site. I think that's where most of the real estate companies, took the hit, and all of a sudden there was no walk-ins, no visits happening. But brand still stands, and there is a promise which comes like with a brand. So what we did is internally we started figuring out ways, and digital today is more of a hygiene. It is not absolutely the new in thing. Everybody in the market, every real estate company, big, small, commercial, plotted development, boutique development, all of them do digital. All of them, right? And I think the way real estate companies understand digital, I doubt whether anybody else understands. That's the kind of understanding, that's the kind of investments that are happening. So in Godrej also we did the same thing. We looked at our digital assets. We looked internally at our digital processes in order to build and keep the brand intact. So if the customer cannot travel, if he cannot come to the site, can a brand deliver that same customer experience? So yes, so there has been a lot of investments, a lot of capability building, a lot of re-looking at our understanding with the various partners. So as far as brand is concerned, I think the journey is just starting, and there's a lot more to be understood and a lot more to be delivered to customers' expectation. It's not an easy answer because all of us are hoping that first 3 months or 6 months, the times the life will
Right.
return to normalcy, but it hasn't happened so. And we've already finished one third of Q3. October is just ended. So just the 2 months more remaining. Numbers have to be delivered by all of us collectively for our respective companies. So I think we will learn more, we will understand more, and what will go in building the brand is something which will be just understood as time passes by. I do not have a clear answer to that, but focus will be to learn on constant basis, to learn to understand what customers are expecting, and thereby slowly and steadily, probably in a year's time, in 2 years' time, whatever the world sees, the new world will be. I think we would be prepared for that. That's my answer, no, to you.
Perfect, perfect. You mentioned customer understanding. Let's get into that side of the conversation on the consumer insights, or probably some irreversible consumer behavior that all of you must be experiencing right now. I will get Mr. Mishra into the conversation right now. I will follow it up with Mr. Parsuramka. We cannot see you, Mr. Parsuramka. Is it just me? We can also go in your audio format too if that's more convenient. But if otherwise your camera seems to be giving a problem, at least on my screen. But before, while you saw that, Mr. Mishra, Mr. Mishra, my question to you is, and you look after the corporate side, the office business of DLF, and this seems to be a very ongoing conversation from the work from home phenomenon, a little bit of reverse migration thrown into that there is a certain expectation that even when we recover and we move forward, a large number of companies would still be have a large number of portion working from home. Now, what has your experience been in terms of the audience or the consumer behavior on this?
Uh, Hi Noor, hi everyone. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to be here to converge and exchange views on that. See, work from home to me, Noor, has never been a new phenomenon. It's as old as the IT sector in India. It used to exist ever since IT parks were laid out, ever since the multinationals came to India. It's not been a new phenomena. It just been brought into fore because that became the only way for business continuity for a lot of corporates. So it was not a new thing. That it's not that Indians haven't seen work from home earlier. It just became only one option to work in the last few months. So if you look at the coming future, the near future, work from home will always coexist with working from office. It can never replace office per se. It can never replace the physicality or the experience an office gives in. If you look at all our clients and tenants right now, 90% of them will like to go back to office the day they are assured of safety and wellness across from the surroundings. They will go back to office, and that's what all our consumer contact programs have been telling us. It's just about the apprehension of safety which is right now hindering them. If you look at point of view from a lot of these mental well-being and psychologist point of view, a prolonged work from home which completely blurs out this thing about a work-life balance is detrimental in a longer run. It really affects the mental well-being of employees if it goes without a balance being stricken off. So that's something which we all need to achieve in. At the same time, this thing about work from home when especially youngsters and millennials joined a workplace after actually spending about 12, 13 years in school and then 5 years in college, they
Hmm.
join corporates to get an experience of what the work life is. I mean, that can never be done remotely. That can never be done digitally, right? Ask the HR guys. Onboarding is such a difficult task. Imbibing company culture is such a difficult task. If it's only about a virtual connect. So one, it can never replace the experiential thing of an office. But yes, it's a good option. It's a supplement to what you can do from office. It can never replace it. So it's not about a threat being. It's not being like it's a threat to the office premises. It will coexist with working in office with that kind of a way to go, and none of us out there, 8 guys, will know what the future entails. How long will this pandemic last? When will a vaccine come? All those things are variable parameters. And once this is come in, there will be a fair balance of working from office and working from home. If you ask any of our tenants right now, they will be more than willing to come back to office, but none of the management can ever force their employees to compulsorily work from office, because that's something which they can't be sure of. But given a choice, they will like to come back. I mean, the jury is right now out to say where it's affecting productivity or not. Is work from home very productive? Can it completely replace office? The jury is out right now. But I can tell you from own experience. I mean, especially if you look at the younger generation, they venture out of the homes to experience a work life, a corporate life, and that's not something which you can they which we can do sitting in our study rooms and living rooms from home. And once this perfect balance is tied out between work from home and work from office, there will be changes in the office culture too. I mean, there will be social distancing norms to be followed within office premises. They will have to look at how a balance can be worked out between working from home and working from office, and that's how that's what the future entails to me.
Fair enough. It almost sounds like you're not expecting much to change on that front, and that as soon as things are working again, we will have people going back again. So COVID didn't change much. We are going through like a little bit of a temporary situation, from what I understood you're saying.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. I like that answer because otherwise, yesterday, it was the first day of the roundtable, and somebody said that there's an ongoing joke or conversation that COVID wins the Chief Transformation Officer Award because it changed everything. But we have more and more people saying that some of the basics have actually not changed. I am now going to get Mr. Parsuramka into the conversation. Please do weigh in. You have already heard what Mr. Makijani, what Virilsa, and also what Mr. Mishra has said. Uh, a little bit of introspection from what comes out and the fact that not really much changing. Your experience, how are you looking at it?
Okay, so partly it has been covered. Mr. Lalit Makijani has mentioned that on the brand side, definitely yes, exactly. That's what we as well started thinking about. That exactly how do we relate with our customers, continuing giving them the same experience that we wanted to give, as was earlier the case. So what we did was we kind of created digital assets. We continued to transform them into a nice experience, stitch it into a one package so that we could give it to our customers back at the comfort of their homes. And more so, unlike Godrej, Tata again enjoys the same kind of trust amongst its consumers. So because we had already a strong trust platform, when we connected with our customers online, digitally, giving them practically every experience that we wanted to give to them, that was the time when customers could relate to it. At least they could, some who could postpone their buying, they kind of postponed it. But the ones who really required, who were end users, who had to buy, they were the ones who relied more on trust and the experience that we could create digitally. That was one. The second biggest aspect was the fact that we also started learning exactly how customers, what exactly is customer looking for now, when post COVID or during COVID, exactly what is has been his learning. Is the preference changing? And we could see that a lot of customers are now changing towards bigger apartments, more space, more balconies, predominantly in Mumbai, where balconies are something which is not offered along with the product, because most of the designs are without balconies, or you just have a flower bed. The 2 BHK was willing to stretch it to a 3 BHK apartment, and a 3 BHK was looking for a 4 BHK apartment or a 3.5 BHK. So requirement for larger space, because it was work from home, school from home. And as this fact dawned that this COVID is going to stay for some more time, and it's not a requirement, it's not a pandemic which will be there for about a month or two, people went out and started searching for such apartments. And we at Tata had the advantage because we always build large homes, slightly bigger than the standard formats, the crammed homes that we had. And we could immediately connect with our customers because of the fact that we had better homes suited to their requirement. So this consumer insight became very strong. Uh, Communities, developments which are self-sustainable, which had provision stores within the complex, which had provisions for medical facilities within the complex, large spaces, open spaces, where people could maintain social distancing but at the same time enjoy their living as well. So these were things that really mattered, and we somehow could address that during this last 6-7 months whenever we interacted with our customers online. So two very strong things that happened. One, customers wanting homes immediately, so that so the ready to move in apartments which were ready were strongly preferred over under construction ones. And similarly, the over dependence on a brand, a known brand, trusted developer who will offer quality and timely delivery and a good product suiting their requirements, was something that the consumers were looking for during the pandemic. So I think these were two very strong points that came out during the last 6 months. And brands then immediately kind of started communicating with their customers in their language, in a way that it could address what was going on in customers mind, building the trust, giving them the confidence. For an under construction project, we kind of continued showing them how we are treating our laborers, what kind of hygiene standards we are maintaining in our labor camps, so that the construction activity, even if it is at a slow pace, but at the same time the work is not stopped. So that kind of gave them the confidence that the timely delivery during even if the force majeure was in place, which would have kind of pushed the construction timelines by another 3-4 months, but yet the product would be delivered. So in under construction project, customers did understand this important aspect, and they could relate to their overall buying process in terms of what kind of possession timelines they would actually be getting into if they were to buy an apartment in an under construction project. So two varied aspects of consumer sets, both for ready to
I got
move in
it.
as well as for under construction projects. So
Mm,
these were things that
I
we
got
did at Tata Realty.
I got it. I would actually want everybody to get a little bit more about the mix itself and this upselling or rather up trading kind of a insight that comes through. I would like Mr. Siddharth Sood to come into the conversation right now. However, about this marketing mix bit, and Mr. Parsuramka just mentioned the digital assets that immediately went up. I have seen the works that Godrej or that Mahindra Life Spaces has done, or rather that what the both the CMOs have stood for even in the past. Digital has been on the agenda. From your point of view, how much do you think the marketing mix changed in the last 7 months? Did it change in the sphere of digital? Did you keep TV related what happened right at home?
Hi everyone. I didn't get the last part of your question. You went
The
blank on
marketing
that.
mix, my
But what I
apologies. I know.
understand,
I will say it again. The marketing mix from the digital TV, print, out of home sect. How did your own planning or your own mix change in the last? I really want to say 3-4 months, but let's say 7 months.
yeah, it was. This was a very interesting period. These last 7, 8 months. So the marketing mix changed initially. In the first month, it was a really a challenge to reach out to the audiences and to be the brand to be relevant, because real estate is not something which is, the per unit cost is very high for a real estate unit. It's probably the single largest purchase of any person in his lifetime. So we have to be brand relevant all the time. And for the first till 31st of May, it was we relied more or less entirely on digital. But post that, we changed tracks, and I believe most of you might have seen we've gone bullish on print, radio, and outdoor. TV we haven't been ventured. We have not ventured yet into TV. But yes, see, real estate has to be a 360-degree mix. A person who's getting up in the morning, reading a newspaper, perhaps, or a digital format. They're consuming digital news and everything. Then if they're stepping out of home, they have to. There's a radio. There is OH. So you have to hammer them from all 360 degrees, and that's what we have come back to. And with the exciting rates that we are getting now from the media houses, I think we've gone back to the same marketing mix that we were doing pre-COVID. But yes, dependence on digital has increased. We have looked at a lot of other mediums digitally. More things have been explored and experienced. And but going forward, we are back into print and radio and outdoor, which was the traditional mix in this part of the country. We have been operational in the NCR, Noida, Greater Noida, and Yamuna Expressway. So we are back into all the modes that there were that we were doing earlier. Yeah.
I like it when people say they're still spending on print. It's not because we have a magazine, but it's just because that conversation has been on for so long that print is losing out, losing out. I like it when people say that they're still spending on print, and it's a different story if magazines are actually getting a piece of that pie. Coming back to when we were talking about the customer upselling right now, or rather, this was a point that came out earlier today as well, that now consumers are asking for more. They're asking for bigger apartments, more facilities, utilities. They are talking about places where they can walk within their own compounds, etc. Now, if everybody is seeing a similar trend, I want to understand how will it impact marketing. And I will come to Alok sir later, but I'm going to go to Viral sir again on this before I go to Alok sir. Viral sir, as a journalist who's reported on marketing for a really long time, we have looked at projects that are easier to sell, and luxury falls in that every single time. But now when we're actually talking about an upselling kind of a thing, is there more? Is there more that you can that changes in that phenomenon of talking to the consumers?
So honestly, no. I mean, yes. Irrespective of the pandemic, let's be honest. Who wouldn't want a bigger home? Yeah. So I think maybe the realization that you want one badly has been made stronger thanks to COVID. But I really don't think that that's a new thing in that sense. The other reality is that everybody wants a larger home, but not everybody can afford one. And in that sense, let's face it, there's no other product category where a consumer has to take on a lifelong debt to own it. And this is the only category where that happens. So they are already stretching themselves that much. That's the kind of commitment they're making to it. So we've looked at it a little differently, and we've said, look, it's yes, those who can afford to buy bigger homes will go forward and take bigger homes. Yeah, and they are available across the category. I think the other change which really matters in what we've taken on is to say, how can we repurpose the space that they are buying to ensure that they're able to do more with it? Yeah. And I think that's the shift which we've been focusing on, in terms of saying, for example, how do you create niches, nooks which become workspaces? How do you repurpose the space they have using different design aspects that integrate flexibility and integrate repurposing of space? So we've all seen different furniture options that are now available, the Murphy beds and so on and so forth, but there's a lot more of that we can do from the working perspective. And fundamentally it is usability of space that becomes a criteria. And in our perspective, design therefore becomes a far bigger player than it has been in the past, where offering the right kind of products are concerned. And really that's the focus we maintain, such that being a little more democratic about the usability of space, using technology to enhance their experience, and making sure that the right kind of amenities are provided. Yeah, it's no longer about just the clubhouse and just the swimming pool and so on and so forth. Uh, those priorities change, and maybe there needs to be a space where people can work from comfortably within the complex, and that's one kind of space. People have been cooped up at home. How do you make a good blend of physical activity as well as the ability to relax and unwind within the security of your development? So those are some of the more uh, you know life aspects that we have looked at focusing on, rather than just increasing space, because there is a limitation to that on both fronts. Let's face it, the developer front and the consumer front.
Understood. I understood. Basically, the design element of it. We will discuss a little bit more about this after this, but I want to get Mr. Agarwal into the conversation right now. Yours is the company that is kind of dependent on how the real estate business is growing, whether it is new buys, whether it is renovation, repair, etc., etc. But then it was not the spending power also has come. So while real estate came to a standstill, even the spending or the ability to actually do something in terms of repair and renovation right now has come to a standstill. Now, are you seeing when Mr. Parshuramka mentioned about recovery some time back, but are you seeing recovery as well in both of these behaviors? Like you're able to whether there's some incoming demand?
Yep, there is somebody using an office drill. It's awesome. Thank you. Uh,
It
ouch.
came back. The grill
Uh,
took a break.
no. This is the horrors of working from home. It's like the pressure cooker whistle. So let me know if I'm not audible. But
You are
we
audible, yeah, you are.
right.
Anjali,
So okay.
I think
So
he's trying to solve the problem, yeah.
yeah. So what we see happening is across the various segments of real estate, different customer segments uh, are growing. So maybe residential is stable or buoyant, depending on which segment in residential you're focusing on. But data
Mm,
centers, warehouses are growing. So we were always looking at the whole basket or the mix of portfolio of real estate products that are sold, and had the good fortune to decide, okay, so if commercial is not growing, which segments are growing and what can we do for them, and how do we change our product mix to answer those new realities. And okay, and if, let's say, the typical purchase manager is no longer willing to step outside of his home or office, how do we go to him? So how do we allow tile shopping to be done indoors? Uh, and so those
mm.
are the things that we focused on. Basically, that yes, while recovery is happening, everybody is pressed for time, everybody is anxious. So how do we stay relevant in those contexts and use it to further our brand?
Got it. I got it. Great. So now I'm going to, Viral sir mentioned about design some time back. Earlier we were talking about experience. I'm going to get Mr. Lalit Makijani back in the conversation. Experience has been such an important term for customers, the new age customers, for a really long time. And in real estate, you started doing 3D, get mock-ups of the house and try to at least show them what it looks like. But the experience of actually going into one of those demo houses in the lockdown, it seems that it was difficult to do that. So how are you looking at somehow creating and engaging consumers and keeping that element of experience in the mix, towards ensuring some bit of demand and buy?
No, so it's not actually speaking, while everybody would be trying to give that same flawless and seamless experience through various now digital tools available, but frankly speaking, as of now we have not delivered,
I
in the
think.
sense the
Mm,
customers are taking decision because of other
mm,
strong reasons offered to them. If I have to be fair and candid here, I think not customers are buying because they are able to really imagine through the videos which we share with them, but they primarily take a decision because there is a strong payment plan offered, right? And there is a good opportunity which they feel they shouldn't be missing at it. There is a probably a financial scheme tied with a bank, and which is on a table as a one once in a lifetime opportunity. So now on the experience side, we really tried our best, and while customers have taken decision and they bought it, and the numbers speak for themselves. And in Q1 we did pretty well. But if you ask me, so far there is not that disruptive digital tool available. All these, when you say the digital walkthrough and all those things, they just give you kind of an idea. You just cannot take a decision basis looking at that. So what customers are doing, the way we conducted research is, customers would want to drive down still. They would want to drive down still at the location. They may not want to enter the site. They would want to understand the kind of area infrastructure it is and go back and then connect again online with the sales team. We have actually also deployed some technology tools wherein I'm sure everybody does it. It's not confined to Godrej property. Everybody does this drone and everything. It's a very common thing to be done. So they are taking decision, and I think it is that dominant fear that is playing. There is no, in Indian real estate, there is some tool, digital tool that has come, and we have, because of that, we are just doing some amazing numbers, to be very, very frank with you. At international, at cross borders, there are some amazing tools, but in India, those tools are not available because of capability and technology issues. So numbers have happened because of what I told. What is going to happen? I think what is going to happen is that customers will continue to now be online and offline. I don't think so. It will be just online. I think it will be a mix of both, wherein there will be online and offline. Unlike previous times, erstwhile days where they used to do multiple visits, ek baar banda aata tha, then they used to get a family, friends, banker, brokers. I think that all will stop. That's my gut feel. They will just do probably once, maximum two visits, and basis that decision will be taken. The question is when that online and offline mix is happening, or that bare minimum one visit is happening, what best you can do. So I think on that front, the capability building is happening. Be it the vendors, be it partners, be it brokers, be it our own employees. I think it's the product story that has to really sell well.
The product itself has to sell well.
Yeah, so that you are able to really, if you're really able to share all possible details on the project layout, on the amenities, on the connectivity, I think that one single visit which he plans to do does the justice. So I think we are working on that. We have also redefined our SOPs, that in one visit, what is that we can offer depending upon his requirement. So he'll only come for half an hour, 45 minutes. What all you can just try to give him an experience of. I think as time will pass by, we will do that. But so far we have not done any new launch. The new experience will only speak when the new launch happens. Hopefully in H2 we have some launches planned. So I think after 6 months go by, what kind of experience was to be given and what experience they were supposed to be absorbing, we will only learn.
So digital has not been disruptive enough yet, especially for your sector, as far as we are otherwise talking about digital disruption everywhere else, but at least in this sector that doesn't seem to be the case. I want to do a show of hands, gentlemen. How many of you have taken out a spend from another media and put it in digital in the last 6 months? How many of you? Tata and Orient. Oh, all of you except for Lalitza. Okay, fair enough. The majority have done that. Okay, now where all did print get a hit? Hands up for print. If anybody removed from print and put it in digital, I mean.
I think Noor, in digital, we've been spending a lot on digital. In fact, nobody would say that they've not been investing on digital from the month of April. Everybody's doing only digital. So
that's the problem. So that's where the mix changes. See, now 2 of them have already said that they have slotted print. 2 or 3 of them, because I can see Alok is smiling. Did you also take it out from print and put it in digital?
No, I took it out from television. So in a way, it was the more fleshy monster to cut.
I don't want to say anything on television right now. But did anybody else pick it up from television? Because everybody seems to say television also grew. लेकिन आप लोग का television spend was in any case a certain degree, right? So now how much did you have to? Did anybody cut from television by any chance apart from Alok sir?
No, real estate में television होता नहीं है TVC.
इतना नहीं होता है, सही बात है, सही बात है.
I'm
That
sure Amit can also agree, and because projects are very localized and confined to a local market.
Correct. And it very
Yeah, and television is national. Yeah.
How many of you missed out of home? How many of you missed that those 2-3 months of total lockdown came out of home? वैसे तब तो सभी बंद पड़ा था, but did anybody feel that out of home is going to get a hit? Did anybody feel a little negative about out of home? No, nobody felt negative about it. Oh, Viral sir.
No, initially we did because we were not sure what will happen. We thought OH will be dead. Initially we thought OH will be dead, but once the lockdown, unlock 1.0, 2.0, 3.0 happened, and the traffic was back to normal on the streets, so it's there.
Viral sir, you
OH
were
is
saying
back now.
something. I thought you were making a comment.
No, what I was just going to say is that at the end of the day, to me, the $1 million question is a little different. Look, we had a certain rhythm to our life, whether it's business, work, school, whatever, right? And that pendulum was forced to one side by COVID.
Yes.
And now that's being released, right? And the question is, how far to the other extreme will it swing, and at what level will it set back in the rhythm? And to me, that's the change, because there are lots of changes that are going to happen. Yeah, the question is, are we able to predict which will stick and which will not stick? So Siddharth mentioned, outdoor is back, because obviously there were no people on the street. It didn't make sense putting up outdoor. Now the traffic jams are back, and therefore it makes sense to put outdoor back. But the question is, for example, how much of the change towards digital will stick? How much will consumers be willing to do a lot more online than the 5-6 visits that they actually made to the physical site before they made a decision? So for example, we've actually done a completely virtual launch for a new project. So we launched Happiness Palgar, which was 100% digital. There was no site to visit, right? It was tough. It's extremely tough. And it was the first time that anybody had a completely developed platform. So it's happened in the past, but either brands have leveraged aggregator platforms or aggregator tools. This time we developed it from scratch. It was tough. It was extremely tough. The consumer behavior was very different from what we've ever seen. But I think at the end of the day, the experience, it gave us confidence, because we did sell something like 300 units in a little over 4 weeks. Now the question to us is, do we sustain that investment and hard work in digital? Because once the physical sites open, will they be willing to do that? And that's where I kind of agree with Lalit that maybe not completely. Yes, they would still enjoy the benefits of seeing and getting information they do, but they would still want to come to the site. They would still want to experience. So to us, the $1 million question is, which are the changes do we acknowledge and adapt for the medium to long term, and which are the ones we believe will go back to normal, and therefore let's not invest too much effort and time in it. And that's something that we have to wait and watch.
From what these lovely gentlemen are saying is that the pendulum is coming back, and it's a little bit of a back to normal way of looking at life right now. You mentioned the digital launch, we were told about it as well. But apart from that, it would appear that more and more people are still thinking about how they were doing it, and a little bit continuing with that right now in real estate. So I'm guessing it's your point that it's coming in the center, but let's see what happens after that. So the jury seems to be a little bit out there on how exactly your consumer is going to be engaged in the way forward. All right, gentlemen, we have pretty much just a lot of things that we had said we will, but I still want to get a sense of predictions. Now, this Viral said has, I think, created the perfect segue for it. I wanted all of you to make predictions for 2021, because this sector is really difficult, right? Some are calling it a watershed year, some are calling it reinvention, vagara, vagara. So from an evolution in 2021 point of view, how do you see the role of the CMO change, especially given as partner to your chief execs? So who wants to take it first? Mohit sir, can I make you take it first? You've been quiet for a while.
Sure.
Then I'll come to Mr. Parsuramka. So Mohit sir, yeah.
See, the role of marketing that way, Noor, has been always strategic. It will become more strategic in the days to come. Because what we are looking at in future, some of the things there is a rule book to go for it. Some of them needs to be invented from a scratch. And marketers that ways have been always treading that careful path about going with tradition, also then experimenting about it. So currently, marketing guys are also growth officers for a lot of companies. They're also chief information for a lot of companies because they're the guys who are getting with what's happening across. When we say in commercial real estate, data center will be a big thing. Owners will be on marketing to tell them what will work for data center, what will not. How to launch a new product. It's not been existing in India, but yeah, have been existing elsewhere on other shows. So people will look at marketing also for that kind of information. A lot of if you we all started talking about introspection. In fact, Viral talked about it. So did Lalit. When you look at introspection, there's a lot of also internal communication that happens because it was the first time we went back to promoters, went back to the board, went back to employees to know to gauge where exactly the tide will turn. Marketing again played a huge role in looking at that kind of engagement internally also. Engagement with partners, engagement with stakeholders. It's going to be much more. I mean, people are looking at what will come out of the company officially versus what the grapevine says and what Twitter says. Marketing will also have to therefore look at, if not controlling that information, but at least steering it in the right path. A lot of because now with the pandemic setting in, people are not as extroverted they used to be earlier. They are very choosy with what they will communicate to the world outside. Marketing will play a huge role in also, steering it to the right directions. People talked about the relevance of digital here. I mean, digital is something which, to me, growth organically and it just needs a trigger to explode. And that is what happened 6 months back. I mean, none of us would thought that this kind of a summit will ever be possible with 8 people on their video cameras. It's something that we always used to be on a dais and exchanging views. But it just happened all of a sudden after 20th of March. I mean, that is how the role of marketing also will evolve. So people are looking at, the companies are right now looking at marketing guys to be thought leaders, to be the guys who will be helping in the transformation with both information and also the skill set to dig the heels in and let them, stride forward. And therefore, if the role was strategic in past, it will be much more strategic in the days to come. And there will be multiple hats that we all need to don in the days to come. We can't hear you. You're on mute.
Sorry, sorry. Mr. Sood, I wanted Mr. Sood, if you want to come in right now and weigh in on what Mr. Mishra said. Or give me your predictions, actually, that's better.
Well, as a as a as an industry, I think 2021 will be very interesting because pandemic has taught India at least one thing: the importance of owning a home or an office, which which I believe you would agree. The co-living and co-working, all those models are dying now, and people have realized that you have to have your own home. That social security thing that Mr. Hiranandani was talking about. So we being in the affordable sector, so we are very bullish. We are very hopeful that next year we are going to see a lot of growth, uh, and other players who are in affordable segment, at least they are going to see tremendous growth in the next year. That's my prediction. And so being a marketer, the role becomes more important and more relevant, that we reach out to all those people, we launch new projects, and we are very bullish on this thing. The next year is going to be very good in terms of growth. Yeah.
Let me ask you
Thank
like
you.
this: Are you going to increase your marketing spend in the next year by any chance? And don't base it on this year, base it on 2019.
Well, we can increase depending on the requirement, because, as you know, real estate is more or less project driven. So if there is a project, we definitely would like to spend more and more. And see, earlier the selling cycle of a project was 3 years, 4 years. I
Right.
think now it has reduced down to 12 months to 18 months. So that's what has happened with us, definitely. So yes, spends have increased. That's there.
Shukriya. Thank you so much, Mr. Sood.
So
Mr. Parshuranga, you're up.
Yeah, so I have a point here. I just wanted to mention this. What is changing and what I'm experiencing as a change is number of consumers buying versus the number of consumers coming and visiting the project. So the conversion factor has increased in the last 4 5 months, which means more serious buyers than frivolous customers just doing window shopping. And this is only going to increase because more and more consumers are going to buy because the need is very well felt. And whoever is trying this idea of buying or owning a home, they are serious about it. So, which means as a marketeer, I have to be very crisp in my communication. My product has to be a really a good product. My offering has to be super class. My experience, the customer experience that I give to my consumers on site whenever he visits, has to be a kick-ass experience. So all these 4 5 strong points will make a lot of difference in conversion because he's coming with a sure shot mind that he has to buy. And if he's and unlike pre-COVID, he had no fear of visiting any developer, any site, any time, any length of time. But now he's making the choice in his mind to, or maybe limiting it to 2 or 3 brands or maybe 2 or 3 developers at best because he's doing strong online research. After that, it will boil down to just 1 or 2 or 3 brands where he will eventually buy into. And hence, it is very important that your communication is reaching to the consumer in the right way that he wants to read it as. Point number one. Point number two that I have witnessed as a change and which we will continue is a demand for second home. So projects which were essentially positioned on the second home requirement, be it in Goa, be it in Lonavala, be it in Kasoli, and places like that, we've seen a 200% surge. And whether it's in the uber luxury segment or whether it's in the aspirational segment, both these segments have witnessed over 100% surge in demand. So what we are going to do is, uh, like Viral was talking about a digital launch, but that was required maybe during the COVID pandemic that was on. But now that post pandemic that we are slowly getting out of, his second home launches will also witness a surge because that's where the demand is increasing. People are looking at creating a space for themselves in event of a situation like this, where they could just drive and stay at peace and maintain social distance as well. So properties in Lonavala, Alibag, Goa, even in Dehradun are flying primarily because of the fact that people are opting for second homes. So, as a marketeer, we will see to the requirement of the consumer and the way we interact and communicate with our consumers. That will be much more crisper and much more sharper because of the consolidation that will happen. Trusted brands, reputed brands, national players are the ones who would be chosen over local or regional players, and hence as a trusted developer, responsible developer, it is our requirement to ensure that we communicate with our consumers in as transparent way as possible with the right kind of product information.
Perfect, perfect. Mr. Rosa, do you want to tell me your thoughts on 2021? You have slightly different thoughts from everyone today, but
Uh, so I think, look, all the points made are relevant, varied, but the question I'm asking myself is, how is it different from the pre-COVID? Those are very, very valid requirements. They have always been very valid requirements. Yeah, a great consumer experience is valid before and now. Uh, I think there's going to be, to my mind, two changes. One is having made the shift to digital and greater use of technology. I think the question every CMO will have to ask is, how much does one keep investing in that? How far down the road do we go on that? The balance between not falling prey to the new toy syndrome and overdoing it, and at the same time doing just the right amount. And for that, the trick is going to be really understanding what the business needs for growth based on where the consumer is, how they want to do, how they like their new consumer journey to be, and then decide what's the best way of getting that. And it may not involve technology, but I think that's one big question that we'll have to answer. The second one is actually not new, but I think we'll be held a lot more accountable for, which is being far more ROI and business delivery oriented than ever before. I mean, as it is, I think the one difference, in real estate from the other categories is marketing is a lot more business oriented in real estate than many categories or most categories. But I think that's going to change even more. If we really want to, and I echo the sentiments expressed here that there is going to be a rebound. There is going to be a demand, but I think we also know maximizing that demand is going to take investment, and therefore being highly ROI and business result oriented is going to become a big demand on us.
All right, all right. Thank you so much, Viral sir. You know, the same question I asked to Siddharth earlier. In comparison to 2019, how will your marketing spend change in 2021? As in terms of percentage growth, decline, same.
I'd like to believe it will grow. But that's basis the plans we have on the plate today. If those plans fructify, it will grow.
Caveat while growth. Amit sir, will your also grow the advertising spend from 2019 to 2021? Will there be growth? आप फिर से म्यूट हो गए हैं. You're mute again, sir. Amit sir, you're mute again.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
me.
We are quite hopeful that we will be increasing our budgets and spends across all the relevant media. Definitely, the proportions will change now. Definitely, digital contribution. I mean, portion of spend going into digital will be much higher as compared to what it was. Customer experience in terms of online tools that we are creating, whether it's a drone shoot or whether it's a 3D walkthrough that we've created, and many other. So those will be areas where we will be investing heavily as well.
I got it. Mohit sir, आपको grow होने वाला advertising spend by any chance? आप mute हैं. You're also mute. I have become very inspiring clearly.
In fact, if you look at in the 19-20 years, there's growth. If you look at 2021, there will definitely be growth in terms of marketing spends. In fact, to start with, spends come later. The marketing activities will be growing at a much faster pace. Engagement with the current customers will have to grow, and then we also look at now, which we've not been doing for last 6 months, is demand generation, because the last 6 months were all about consumer connect and going. So that all that will grow.
So now, Alok sir, you also need to answer that question, but you need to give me your predictions as well, and then I'll come back to Mr. Makhijani. So, Mr. Agarwal, your predictions, and then tell me about your ad spend movement.
Sure. I think if we don't have a second wave and a third wave, by all means, for everybody, 21-22 should be better than 19 in terms of spends. I really see that some of the behaviors are likely to be permanent. We will keep doing video calls. Consumers will keep researching online. So the way the purchase decision journey has evolved, at least it will be a bit sticky. It's going to be better than 19. So I think we will keep investing in online tools to make tile shopping easier. I see definitely that happening. Also, the product segments will change. So, warehouses are here to stay. Data centers will boom. And that's where the new market is going to be. Of course, residential, commercial spaces will have the nuances. Affordable housing is going to rock. And I think that's the beauty of being a building material supplier. You sort of have a bird's eye view, or you have a portfolio, and you can play much better. And you have far more elbow room than, if I may say, some of the builders. What I also see happening is brands will be preferred versus unbranded players. We see that happening quite a lot. There is clearly a preference for a branded player who has been around, whose factory you know, and whose priority is to service the customer, and not, so to say, the latest export order you might be getting.
Got it. I got it. So, aapka marketing spend increasing in comparison to 2019?
Yes, absolutely. I'm hoping to.
Mr. Makhijani, almost getting the last word, sir. What are your thoughts on the year ahead?
I think, Noor, I agree with all the gents here. I think, there looks like a promising future ahead. Then there are reasons why I believe so is that last few years, which is just gone by, there's been a financial industry, there's been a pressure. There are a lot of real estate companies, they were under pressure. because they have to service their costly and expensive debt. So I think the consolidation will happen. When the consolidation will happen, there'll be good products that will come in, and the customers, we all have heard, stay at home. वो home है किधर, right? All those fence sitters, then they will take the decision. Interest rates are pretty
Yes.
low; they're very, very attractive. So I think all of us should see good business, and if the good business happens, naturally the spends have to go up. So I see, good times ahead. I see interesting times ahead. I do agree with some, gents here that there will be, innovation on the product side. People may not want to look at large, lavish apartments, but certainly for smart space solutions, they would want to have, possibility of, if pandemic hits again, such times come again, what is that your development or your project is offering. So I think spends will go up, most certainly will go up. And from our side also, I think we will come out with some marketing solutions. We will tie up with some vendors, and yes, we should be able to offer some better customer experience to the
Awesome,
customers.
that's
So the
awesome.
answer
If
is
media
yes.
agencies call you or creative agencies call you, आप लोग मुझे बताइएगा, so that I can tell them that this is where they first heard that आप सबके spends increase होने वाला है in 2021. A very positive note for all our audiences. I'm actually grateful for all of your comments and awesome insights. I can almost imagine my journalists going crazy with the stories that they will be writing. So I have to thank each and every one for your time. And we are almost ending on time, thank God. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, gentlemen. I'll be seeing you on emails, WhatsApp, vagara, vagara. All the best. All the best, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, Noor.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank you,
having
All
everyone.
us.
the
Bye,
best,
everyone.
gentlemen.
Bye. Bye.
See ya.
Let's get Siddharth back.
Hi,
Sid, that was
Noor.
so cool. They are all increasing their ad spends.
I know, I know. It was a great interaction and great discussion with the brightest minds from the most promising sector.
It
So,
turned out
Noor,
to be the most promising sector. The way it has gone, it has turned out to be the most promising sector because real estate was, there were reports that actually used the word crippled, that it was a crippled sector in the beginning of the year, especially because its connection back to so many sectors and then so many sectors back connecting to it. And every time I spoke to people, they were like, oh my God, everybody's crying and everybody's sad. But look at our industry leaders. Our industry leaders are really geared up for the challenge, and they are really, they are going in this with their most aggressive stance. Nobody is taking a back seat. Nobody is waiting for somebody else to do something first. They are taking the first moves, which I thought was really awesome. Really awesome.
exactly,
Now let's figure out
exactly.
if Mr. Magazine is back. Sid, do you have update on that, or am I finding out?
No, I think he's in.
Is he? Let's get him on screen, gentlemen, if he's in. Kunal and Rakesh. Oh, he's probably not here yet. He's not here yet.
There's some
Mr.
technical
Magazine
issues
did
here.
join us, but he was running a little bit late in the beginning, and our CMOs were already here, so we had to swap the session. I'm going to quickly give you why. I'm going to give our audiences here why we had Mr. Magazine coming in. So CBRE is our knowledge advisor this year for the real estate chapter in the marketing white book. In fact, CBRE has been kind enough to do this for almost 3 years, and anybody who's already read the market white book, you already know how insightful, detailed, and how much of effort goes into them trying to bring out like the absolute important points that can help marketers in their decision making. Mr. Anshuman Magazine would have had, if we had him here with us today, I really have to figure out if that's happening. Mr. Anshuman Magazine would have taken us through what would go in the book this year, especially when for the first time Marketing White Book is putting an onus on the marketer. Every year we have looked at a trend, we have looked at personalization, performance, purpose, we have looked at the artificial intelligence, data and content in marketing, leadership, inclusive and technology in marketing. So we have looked at trends every single time. This is the first year we look at the marketer, and he would have given us a little bit more insight on how much of information would have gone in that chapter so that it would have helped the marketers. Now, I'm not sure if he's not, if he's joining or not joining us yet, But on his behalf, I would like to tell you that you can be rest assured the chapter will have a lot of details. It will be full of insights. And you must, as Siddharth said in the beginning, ensure that you get a copy of the book when you can. We are beginning the pre-booking right now. The team here will give you details on our social channels, etc. But November 27th is the launch. We will keep on playing these games till then. It looks like I don't have him here with me yet, and we are almost coming to a close of his time. We will give him another minute, let's say, because our audiences here also have their time. If he's here in another minute, then you see him today. Otherwise, we will bring him back to you probably on November 2nd, when we actually are talking about the education sector. But he can come in and he can at that time give us a little bit on real estate as well. See, also virtual has its advantages, doesn't it, Sid?
Absolutely, absolutely. The new normal, most
The new
comfortable time.
abnormal. Abnormal. You get it wrong every single time. It's the new abnormal.
A new abnormal. And
But
Mr.
I'm
Magzi, Mr.
uh
Magazine is also going to give us a sneak peek into the book as well, right?
he would have, like, if he was
Oh.
here. He's not joined in yet, and I do know that our audience is. How much are they going to see you and me, Sid? I think they've already done that for like an hour and 48 minutes. That's a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Not
I
much
think we
of
should
me
keep
though.
it close. No, enough of you as well. So, all the audiences, now that we are calling it close, let me tell you, this young assistant editor of ours, he will be hosting the auto discussion, which is happening on November 4th. And the entire panel and everything that you see that day, including the chapter will go in the book, will be done by him. And of course, he is. Oh, we have Mr. Magazine. The
Finally,
one that
yes.
actually worked out. Let's get Mr. Magazine on screen, gentlemen. Hi, Mr. Magazine. Hello.
Hello, Mr. Magazine.
He's still adjusting his
Yes, the new abnormal.
the new abnormal. You finally got it. Oh,
Earlier we used to get stuck in jams reaching to the meetings. Now we are stuck in technical issues. So it's the same
yes.
thing, a little
I think
difficult.
it's a Wi-Fi issue, by the way. And today I could see one of our speakers was constantly facing it. It is a little bit terrifying. It is a little bit
Absolutely.
terrifying.
Still better than getting stuck in airports and traffic jams.
I haven't seen a traffic jam in like 7 months, so I am very happy to see one any day now. When Mr. Mishra was saying that everybody wants to go back to office, I was like, yes, me. I want to go every day. I want to go on weekends also to office.
Absolutely. Back in Delhi, we have jams already started.
I still can't see Mr. Magazine. Mr. Magazine, are you here with us? Can you hear me? I think he's still.
I think there's a connection issue.
I think so. Yeah, probably.
Mr. Magazine, if you can hear us, could you say something?
Yeah, just let us know. Sid, what happened to your Hulk shirt while he's joining? I thought you thought today is Halloween, you were going to go Hulk, etc.
I was not supposed to scare the audiences, right?
Yeah, we have a grown-up audience, exactly. Mr. Magazine is having he is having connection issues. We'll wait for a little bit. Otherwise, we will just work on another date to get him. It is our loss actually if we are unable to hear him today, because it would have been like a perfect way to bring this to an end. We'll wait to hear from him. Audiences, I think we should just thank you for your patience if you're still here. Oh, he's again here.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong. I have no what you call issue of bandwidth or Wi-Fi. Something is going really wrong. I'm also sorry.
Please don't worry. No, please don't worry. We were just discussing that everybody has some of the other issues. In the previous session, somebody was actually doing like a drill machine was at work, and then we were trying to figure out kiski drill machine hai, and it was a Saturday. Lekin Mr. Magazine, I have to thank you.
In fact,
I
that's
have
one of
to
the.
thank you.
Sorry. In fact, it's one of the reasons why when there were articles written that it's end of office space, at least in India, I can say it cannot be end of office space because it's still there are so many challenges to log in into video conferences, and especially you can imagine maybe some of the major cities in some areas you may not, but generally speaking, there's always some digital issue, which will ensure that our people will be back into offices.
So, Mr. Maxine, we will be here with you for a while. Just to introduce to our audience, officially now introduce our knowledge partner advisor. Mr. Anshuman Maxine is the chairman and chief executive officer not only of CBRE India but also the Southeast Asia and the Middle East and Asia operations. So he is now going to take us through the state of the real estate sector in India, a little bit about what can be expected in the book and why you must get a copy. Mr. Maxim, all over to you now, sir.
Okay, thank you. First, thank you, Business World, for organizing this Marketing White Book Summit. Um, uh, and there is, of course, this booklet is the Marketing White Book will come out, and it has a detailed chapter by CBRE on what the state of the real estate market is. I just want to mention some of the things which we are really seeing in the marketplace. These are, of course, interesting times. A lot of gloom and doom is there. It's India. I do have a good view of what's happening globally, and the good part is that my expectation is that the Indian market recovery would be uh, faster than many other countries, which does not mean that it will be fast recovery. Relatively speaking, that India would do better. And part of the reason also is that we are behind, we're not a saturated market. And the other reason is that India still has a lot of fundamental strengths which other countries don't have. I would say on top of the number one would be talent, and talent with the cost arbitrage, where our cost of talent is still lower, and more importantly, talent is available. In most other countries, talent is a challenge, and that too skilled manpower in many areas, and that's going to really help our economy, and in particular help our office market, and I would also say industrial. So there is certainly few clear trends which is happening, that the Indian economy will start recovering. It will not be a quick recovery, but at least it will start. It has already started picking up. What we see, because in our business, which is a services business, touches every part of real estate, so we get a very good view of what is happening on the ground. And since last month especially, we have started seeing the benefits of lockdown being lifted, where economic activity is picking slowly back, and we are seeing activity in every part of real estate, be it affordable housing, office leasing, logistics, even manufacturing side. Bit in retail was the most impacted part of real estate, but we are seeing that slowly coming back. The footfalls in malls have coming to 60, depending on where you are, 60 to 70% of what it was pre-COVID. Sales are coming to about half of that, but growing. So we have certainly many reasons to be optimistic. And the other part, of course, is, which everybody's spoken about, I'm sure, in the past, is digitization, technology, which will lead to innovation. We are seeing artificial intelligence being applied even in facilities management, to new marketing tools, to even virtual reality. People are conducting site visits virtually. So lots going to happen, and technology actually will be a differentiator. India again has a benefit because, as you know, we are the global kind of technology hub of the world now. A lot of the application, software development, whatever you see globally, has been developed in India, and this will also benefit our own country instead of just being a offshoring center. A lot of those tech tools will help our industry. There's lots happening in prop tech space. A lot of young people, especially I've seen post COVID 19, there has been acceleration in number of young people trying to develop new prop tech ideas and applications, and they will be implemented more than it was, and adopted more than they have been adopted before. So technology adoption will improve significantly, and a lot of our young people will lead this, and it will benefit our industry. And it will also benefit how we service our clients and how we expand our market. We are, as safety and wellness, again, an area which will be a focus, which will employ a lot of people going forward. New skill sets will come in. New, I would say, careers will be made on only safety and wellness, which will be great. Will employ a lot of people. As safety and wellness was always important, now it will be a must. So it won't be something to have, but something which would be mandatory to do, which will create, I feel, a lot of jobs and will also make workplaces safe and secure, and encourage more people to really then feel comfortable working and coming out to work. Many other areas, I'll try to be as brief as possible, is on some of the new things we have seen, which is happening in India, which hadn't happened before. Again, there are investments happening. You would have read in the press, people like Brookfield and Blackstones of this world are spending billions of dollars, primarily in income-producing assets, which really means large office spaces which are, yielding rent. And the reason for that is the occupiers of these office spaces are multinational companies, so that gives comfort to international investors. Second, the yields are higher than most of the other markets globally. And third is the development risk is not there. And another reason, of course, what was not happening before in India, which is now we are reaching that stage, that our debt levels, the cost of the interest rates have come down. Earlier, I always used to say that, look, people invest, international funds invest in countries where they can also borrow locally in a lower, at a cheaper interest rates. And India interest rates are very high, so they have also come down. So all this has led all these investments coming in. And last and most important, the whole REIT structure is also providing exit opportunities for investors. And anybody, any investor, be a sovereign fund, large private equity funds, international multilateral funds, when they invest, like anybody else, the first thing they think is that if they're investing in a country or in a sector, what is the exit? The REIT provides that exit now, which wasn't there before, and that will encourage more investment to come in. Besides that, of course, everybody would have spoken about the other areas like data centers, logistics, co-living, senior living. All these are coming in. Some of them, for example, in logistics side, warehousing, there is a boom. Data center, there's no boom right now, but India has the potential to convert the demand into a boom, provided we can improve our infrastructure, provided the government policies support it. So there is activity in data centers, but as a country, we need to grab this opportunity, which I feel is we have not so far done. You can imagine India as a country itself, the amount of data, they would be in a population of 1.3 billion. At the same time, globally also, this old adage that data is the new oil, and someone said data is the new refined or a processed oil, and then India could be that, like a refinery, where the global data could come here, where we could, we could refine it and process it and then send it back or keep in data centers in India. So it's a huge opportunity, and we as a country still need to look at ways to capture that. So I'd like to conclude by saying the lot of opportunities. The book would discuss some of these. However, one should not forget the sword of COVID-19 is hanging on our neck still. We're not out of that. There is still uncertainty. There is still a lot of other challenges the global economy faces, and there is talk about if the COVID-19 reoccurs and if there's a lockdown again, it will impact our economies globally. So there is still lots to be done. However, again, I believe that India is in a better position as far as recovery is concerned. It will be a slower recovery, but my own feel is in next 6 9 months we will see things improving, unless until, of course, the only caveat is some disaster or COVID-19 comes back and there is a problem. But otherwise, even in the real estate market, we will see recovery happening. But certainly, some of the panelists I heard, I felt, whilst they were optimistic, some of them were too optimistic. But again, the good part is We are on a path of, certainly in a path of recovery, which is really good, and the momentum will accelerate in next few months' time. And we as a country and in the real estate industry, I feel will be in a very good place going forward. So thanks. I mean, I can go on, but I would like to stop there.
Oh, he's almost nearly gone. I wanted to thank him. I actually wanted to ask him, कि उनका too optimistic. What does he mean? Some players were too optimistic. I was really happy they were so optimistic. But I will again give credit to Mr. Magazine. We are running terrifyingly behind on time. All the audiences that are still here with us, I have to earnestly thank you for your patience and for your time. The people who have missed out on listening to Mr. Magazine, of course, the feed is there on our social channels. We are capturing everything into episodes, so you will also see it on BWTV. And then there's the book. I'm hoping everybody can buy the book.
Yes, and do not forget to book your copy in advance because there will be a lot of insights like the one you just heard today.
Right. With this, I have to thank once again our technology partner, Almin Vertex. I have to thank you every day right now for all of your hard work. I have to thank Reality Plus again. Tripti and Sapna, thank you once again for your cooperation and for your help. And we have to now. I'm sorry. I think there's a problem with my video. This is